Welcome back to All That Jam. I am joined by Jason Mingledorf, a go-to sideman in New Orleans for many years, an educator, and now the frontman on a couple albums. How we doing, Jason?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Oh, fantastic. It is. It was 50 degrees this morning. I expect in Baltimore this time of year to at least be at 60. And it's like, yeah, you still got the windows open, huh?
Well,
um,
it's already hit. Summer is hit here, so
Right. I always said I wanted to live in New Orleans in the winter and Vermont in the summer, and I'd be at 70 my whole life,
yeah.
hopefully. Um, anyway, I mean, you're a sideman, obviously, for years. If people don't know about your career watching this, Papa Grows Funk, you played with Galactic a little bit, Dr. John. I mean, the list goes on and on. They can go back and find the earlier interviews, but let's say why in 2023 you released Get Started, and you just released the journal sessions now. What was the shift that made you want to come out and be the band leader?
Well, when I put out my first record a couple years ago, it really kind of got a ball rolling in terms of really starting my solo career. So I had I had to do things that I never had to do before, like get a website, get a bio, and get material together and learn how to be a band leader. So in the process of that, I found that there's some certain aspects of it are not fun, like the logistics of that and begging people to come to shows and things. But the actual music part of it, playing my music with people that I love playing with and reaching people that have never heard it and seeing the effect on them has been wonderful. And a lot of the music I was playing even dates from before my album came out, and I had recorded it a while ago, and I was like, you know what, this I would love to put this music out and finally make it available. So this second album was recorded over a decade ago.
Right. Yep, we'll dive into that a little bit. Yeah, why don't we just do that right there? It was being released now, recorded in 2011, and it grew out of work you were doing for the Saxophone Journal. Is that correct? What's that story?
Yeah, we there used to be this. It was like really the only saxophone magazine, and it was geared to saxophonists. And a couple of friends of mine were writers for it, and they suggested I might want to do something about New Orleans music for them. And I was thinking about, a topic, and I was thinking about all the different grooves we have in New Orleans. And I remember I Googled, I just wanted to see what kind of information is out there. And I Googled, what is a New Orleans groove? And the most terrible stuff came up. Like some people just playing Bo Diddley groove, whatever. And I'm like, oh no, so I thought, well, this is maybe something that is worth exploring. And so one of the things that, I'm very lucky to do is get to play with lots of different groups. So I play traditional jazz. I play a lot of funk. You know me from a lot of that. But I also play a lot of our New Orleans R&B, like Fast Domino and that stuff. So I love all of those, and they all have different types of grooves. There's a brass band stuff too that I play in with the Nightcrawlers. So I wrote 10 songs, and I got some really great musicians to play them. And each song was a different New Orleans type of groove, and they're all original songs. Two of them did not make it. One of them was a Zydeco tune, which to me, I just didn't feel good about it because that's one genre I haven't played with. It's not really a New Orleans genre. It's like a Lafayette, Western Louisiana. And I just felt like the song was too derivative. And another one was a Mardi Gras Indian song, which actually my drummer on that was Gerald French, who is a Mardi Gras Indian. Although I am hesitant to record a Mardi Gras. I'm not a Mardi Gras Indian. and I definitely have respect for that. But I asked Gerald. I said, "Did I say George? Gerald French?" Gerald French is the drummer, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we could do this because he's an Indian." But also that one, I felt like it was just kind of a derivative. As a tune, I didn't feel like it was adding too much, and I only really needed the four. And so what I did was I recorded them and I made play-alongs, and I wrote articles. Took a couple of took a couple of issues, and I talked about the different groups. I also talked about some well-known New Orleans saxophonists and things like that. And had a blast. I mean, the band was great. If I could tell you the band. So I mentioned Gerald French. He's the son of George French, was one of my favorite bass players, singers. I mean, he sang at my wedding. I mean, I loved him so much. George. So I had Gerald French. I had two bands. One that kind of did more of the rock and roll stuff, and one that did more of the jazz stuff. Mm-hmm. And the band that did the jazz stuff was Gerald French. Jesse Boyd on bass, and Josh Paxton on piano. You've probably seen Josh play with Johnny Sketch and the Dirty Notes. Yep. And that was my, and I also had a special guest, Kevin Clark from the Nightcrawlers, to play on a song on trumpet. And then the R&B band was the great Alan Robinson on drums. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Alan, but
Alan, it isn't jumping out at me, but
so Alan's one of those golden, wonderful secrets of New Orleans. The guys that know. He used to play with Luther Kent, who was a great blues singer. And back in the
day, Bag, right? Trick Bag was his band.
Trick Bag, yep. Yes. Yeah. And back in the day, he played with someone called Wayne Cochran, which there's a lot of New Orleans. There was a wonderful guitarist, saxophonist, arranger, composer named Charlie Brent. Now, he was the band leader for Luther Kent. Well, he was also the band leader for Wayne Cochran. And this is the band that Jaco Pastorius got his start, the great bass player. So Alan was in the band with Jaco. So they were really good friends. He was like in the room when Jaco took the frets off his bass. And Alan is just, he's like a rock solid drum. He's such a great drummer, and from New Orleans. And I've been lucky to play with him with Luther Kent and learned a lot from him, and lucky to call him a friend. So I have him, and I have a wonderful bass player, Renee Coleman from the Iguanas.
Yep.
On bass, John Groh, who at the time was with me with Papa Grows Funk. Mm-hmm. On organ, and John Foll, who I play with I was at the time was playing with Dr. John. He was in Dr. John's band on guitar. So it's a fantastic band, and I got to, I have a song that's kind of like a Huey Piano Smith song. I have something that's kind of like a 12/8 Fats Domino thing, something inspired by the Dirty Dozen, and various other grooves, a couple meters things.
And all the songs have names of like places in New Orleans, or a lot of them do, or like the Gentilly one, and
there's sometimes it's just maybe just shout outs to things. Like, for instance, I have one called Gentilly Mambo, because that's my old neighborhood. I used to live there. That's where I went to school. Now I have Ursuline second line. Well, man, I thought it rhymed, and nobody had a second line. So, hey, can't beat that. And that song actually later was re-recorded by the Nightcrawlers, along with another one that has a street name, Fiasco and Frenchman. Both of those were re-recorded later by the Nightcrawlers and was on the Grammy-winning record, Atmosphere. But these are the original recordings. Fiasco and Frenchman, it's just about craziness on the.
If you've ever been on Frenchman, you will get it.
And so, since the articles I wrote these for were kind of informational, really about New Orleans, and so I kind of wanted to highlight a little bit of the areas in New Orleans. I think I got cutesy with one of the titles. I thought Metairie and meters have the same kind of, so that's about what they have in common there. The onomatopoeia there, no, that's not, that's a alliteration there. Yeah.
Alliteration. Yes.
Alliteration. Metairie.
I love it. I love the the what I call the old time rock and roll stuff, the Fats Domino stuff that you mentioned. That just it lights me up. I'm like, man, we need more of this. It's so pure. It's simple, simpler than jazz or something, but there's such a purity to it.
Yeah, I think last time I talked to you, I had a new band called the Mishaps.
Yes.
And we were not able to really get things going as a
It was
band.
a mishap.
And it was a real, yeah, it was a real shame because I love, but coincidence, we actually are doing a gig this weekend at BJ's. It's like a little reunion gig just to kind of get together. Our friend Smokehouse Brown is having a birthday party, and we're playing for that at BJ's. But yeah, it's there's not a whole lot of people doing that. One of the guys I play with, I'm sure you're familiar with Davis Rogan.
Mm-hmm.
He actually wants to start a new band with me in it called No Egrets, I think is the name of it, to play not his music, but to play Fats Domino and Huey Piano Smith.
Earl King, maybe. There's some Earl King in there.
Yep. Yeah, because there aren't a lot of people doing it. John Grow does it. Of course, John Cleary does it at a very high level, but and he's always got some of that old New Orleans R&B in it. But there's not that many more.
Right. Go on with it. Let me ask you, in 2011, you were what, like 5 years into teaching, I guess, at the time? This is almost your 20th year, right? How did being an educator influence what you did for this project, since you were writing articles?
It's definitely, I kind of realized when the teaching thing kind of fell in my lap. I got a call from Tony DeGrati, who I did not study with, and I didn't even really know that well at the time, and asking me if I would be interested. I imagine I probably got a recommendation from my mentor, Eric Traub or somebody, or from my former teacher, Ed Peterson. So I had never taught before. So I'm like, yeah. And so I started teaching a little bit here and there. And I found, kind of naturally, I like it, a lot. And so it's definitely, my students will probably say it's my nature to kind of dig into things. And once I start getting into it, I've got a bunch of handouts ready to go. But and so doing the article was a lot of fun, and I kind of dug deep into it. If I was really smart, I would have probably used it and gotten a dissertation or something with it. But I don't have that doctorate. And it was just, I learned a lot doing it, and I love spreading New Orleans music and my love for it to other people. So it was just kind of it was in a way an extension of that, and it still continues. I just applied for, we have what's called the GEN conference. It's a National Jazz Educators Network conference, and I've applied to do my first clinic there. I don't know if I've got it, and it was basically going to be on New Orleans, kind of come out from this, and we'll actually talk a little bit more about the New Orleans saxophonists that are influence on me for that, which I talk about in these articles too.
Were any of the grooves especially tricky to capture?
No, I think I had been playing them for a while. The tricky thing for me is I'm not a drummer,
right.
So the tricky thing for me was explaining them and kind of what makes them different and connected, because they're all connected very subtly in the kind of the syncopations and stuff. But if you think about it, the meters, they have several different, every song is a different groove technically, but there's certain things that make it a meters groove that are very different than like a Parliament Funkadelic. And they're like, well, what is that? And but then that's connected to Fats Domino, and it's connected to traditional jazz.
There's the educator coming out.
Yeah, I know. and you would hear it. To me, I always tell people ask, who do you think is the successor of Louis Armstrong? and people are usually mentioning, trumpet players. But to me, the successor to Louis Armstrong is Fats Domino, and he played a lot of Louis Armstrong songs. And in a way, the most obvious showing of that is somebody like Louis Prima, who obviously copied a Louis Armstrong thing, but he was playing popular music. He was very popular, like Fats Domino, and the sax solos on there, Sam Butera, all these raucous sax solos that would have sounded just as at home on a Fats Domino record than on a Louis Armstrong or something. Right. So it's all connected. But yeah, that's the teacher in me coming out.
I love it. I love it. See, I think that's probably, I haven't played music with you. I don't play music, but I can see you being a great band leader because you have that in your past and you've done that for so long.
It definitely helps. I think another thing, a lot of this did not come natural to me. So it has a lot of hard work. And I find that I've had to find ways to kind of fool people into thinking I know what I'm doing, or and you do it enough, and you know what you're doing, and so I do find that I have a lot of tools available to kind of help people who are struggling, problem solve and get better.
There you go. So you posted the other day on Facebook that you had some great news. South Arch Jazz Roads grant.
Yeah,
and you're doing an Alabama tour this fall. So what's that all about?
That is very exciting. I think this is a great program. It's a grant by the South Arts. They're based out of Atlanta, I think, and basically they will supplement. If you get the grant, it supplements a tour you're doing, and the criteria are that you're playing jazz, and you're bringing your music to places that don't normally get it. So rural areas. And you have to book the tour first, so they're not just going to give you, so you have to do the work.
And here's some money, go on tour.
Yeah, right. That's not going to be much of a tour. I'm going to tour my neighborhood. So you book 3 to 6 gigs, and I just happened to. I had an old girlfriend call me and say, "Hey, you want to play? I'm running this arts council in Troy, Alabama, which is like middle of nowhere, and would you like to come?" And it would be like an anchor date, which, for those who don't travel, a lot of times the tour is built off kind of a good paying gig, and then you can do some other gigs. And I was like, yes. I had only really done my own thing. I did a gig in Hawaii a couple years ago. Which, oh, by the way, I got wonderful news. Is also this week, I haven't really shared it, is I'm been asked to come back to Hawaii to the Maui Jazz Festival in the fall as a solo artist. So that's exciting. But anyway, but I hadn't been on the road as a band leader ever, really. So I thought, well, this would be a really cool opportunity. And I heard about this grant, and it's great because I never would have booked a bunch of gigs. That's just too much of a pain. But knowing that the grant was there as a possibility, I booked a tour. And even without the grant, I was able to get some good gigs and get like 6 gigs that I could pay the guys a decent amount, where I felt like I could ask them. But if I got the grant, I could pay them what they deserve, and we could do it right. And I found out last week that I got the grant, and which is now I'm in the process of just confirming everything, and I'm already had to make little tiny changes, but so now we have 6 days. I'm originally from Alabama, so one of the gigs is going to be at my old college at Alabama. One is at my parents' college. There's a club in Birmingham. I'm hoping Florence, Alabama, where Muscle Shoals is. I'm going to go up there, and a couple of other little more rural areas. And
Tuscaloosa, right? Columbiana. I've never heard of Columbiana.
Shelby County, yeah, that's a very small town. One reason I really wanted to do this also, when I was young, I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama. We had a special concert outdoors. I'll never forget it. I think I was high school age, and we had Alvin Red Tyler come. Alvin Red Tyler, who used to play with Dr. John and Fast Domino. He's one of those connections.
Infamous. He's
music.
infamous. You've heard him, whether you know it or not. You have heard him.
Yeah.
And he had, what was his one hit though? Peanut Vendor.
He did. Yeah. That was actually Peanut Vendor. Yes, that was him. Red Tyler. Yeah. Peanut Vendor. Yes. And
so many songs. I know.
Yeah, that's good. I have a good story about Peanut. I might ask me later if you have time. Peanut Vendor. Anyway, so he came to Montgomery and did a concert, and I remember just being really just enthralled by this concert. I remember he did a version of this song. I wrote it down, and I didn't know at the time it was not his song. It was "People Make the World Go Round." By the I think that's the my mind just went blank. Anyway, great band that made that album, and he did a version of it with kind of like I want to say like a little second line kind of groove to it. And I remember being like, man, this is a really cool feeling and everything. I loved it, everything about it. And I must say it probably had an influence on me coming to New Orleans. And I was lucky because I eventually got to study with him not privately, but he led one of my combos at UNO. And then I eventually kind of, after he passed away, I started playing Barasax with Dr. John, where he used to play. And I wrote a song about him for the Nightcrawler. I mean, like, he was a big influence on me. And it all came from him to traveling and taking his music outside of New Orleans. So hopefully I can, bring a little bit of that New Orleans stuff to some other people.
It's almost a full circle. I've seen that you spoke before about growing up in Alabama, how it shaped your ear early on, the Muscle Shoals thing. Now you're kind of coming full circle, bringing New Orleans back to Alabama.
Yeah, it's there's some amazing musicians out of there. There's a lot of soul in the city. A lot of them, though, they don't know about what we have down here. It's a little bit different, but it's connected. So I'm looking forward to it. And I don't think I've ever had 6 nights in a row of playing my music with my own band, so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
Right. Are you thinking a set list for all 6 shows as opposed to trying to make them?
I'm always, every time I get ready to do a gig, I like to throw a wrench in there. Use more for myself. I always like to throw something new in. I got a great band. I do have. So I have the bass drummer and bass player and drummer for my first album, Doug Garrison from the Iguanas on drums, and Ed Wise on bass. On piano, I have Mike Limler, who tours with George Porter Jr. He's been playing with him for 25 years. Wonderful piano player. And on guitar, I have someone who's also from Alabama, Bert Cotton, who I play with Funk Monkey. He's in Bonarama. And he used to have a great soul jazz band called Half Soul Will Travel. And so he's really he can play, he can really do the jazz stuff really well, but he's got a real strong funk kind of nature. And the music I want to play, I've been playing more live, kind of leans more toward the funkier kind of groups and stuff. So
the Started stuff, maybe. Like you're going to be pulling from Started in the journal sessions, right?
Yeah, mostly. Yeah, I might do a couple of little covers and stuff, but I'm pulling from those albums. And making Started, my first record, was a real self-discovery in terms of what kind of musician I am, and most naturally at and stuff. And definitely the more soulful, bluesy, funky things were things that I felt more like this is me. And so I'm in the process of writing music. I've already got a lot of songs written for a new record, and I just kind of wanted to put this one out just because I love the tunes on it. I think there's great playing on it, and put it out there, and as I work on a new one, and I don't have to be rushed to get a new album.
Now, as you're going on to a third album as a band leader, even if one was a little some older stuff, do you write with performance in mind? Like that these are going to be played live, or do you view it as I'm going to put it down and it might only ever live on the CD?
I mean, I prefer to have things I kind of think live, you know, like how I think about who can play it. I do, you know, it is a challenge. I for many years I would just write for the band that I was in, and I would think about that, and it was an important part of the process. For instance, you know, I write a lot of songs for the Nightcrawlers, and we have a wonderful tuba player, Matt Perrine, who can pretty much play anything, and so and a tuba, like I mean, a bass, of course, we were talking about Jocko, can move around a lot. But the tuba has, or sousaphone if you want to get technical, but it can really just really kind of come right in your face. You know, it really can be percussive in a way. And so writing a bass line for tuba is a different way of composing for me. And so right. I would write things for the Nightcrawlers. Usually it all kind of based off that, even though it would, sometimes the line would change. Matt might change it or whatever, but it usually kind of started from that. And in general, a lot of my tunes start from the bass. But but for Papa Grows Funk,
ground up, building from the ground up.
Yeah, for Papa Grows Funk, I would like I would definitely compose things, knowing like I have June, I have Pyro, I have Jelly Bean. I could just draw on all of them. And I knew they're playing, and I would write things for that. In fact, my solo band, I don't play any songs from the bands that I've written for. And it's not because I don't like the songs or whatever. But like, I don't play any Papa Grows Funk songs because those songs were written for Papa Grows Funk. I don't even imagine them being played with my band. And same with the Nightcrawler songs.
Right.
Those are the main two bands I've kind of written.
I could tell you early, maybe Papa Grows Funk. What was that song? Hey You. Wasn't there a song called Hey You or Hey or something like that?
Yeah. Hey, brah.
Hey, right. That would be fantastic. Let me ask you about your soloing and your playing. Your phrasing feels conversational. What is your relationship with space and silence in your solos?
That's a good question. I definitely love giving space for a couple of reasons. I'm always telling my students to do this too, but because when you take a breath, you allow for certain things to happen. One, you allow the listener to kind of take it in and think about it, or not think of, react to it, Right. And then, but two, you give your band a chance to interject and kind of give you something to play with. It might be a reaction to what you played, or it might be new information, just something, Right. And it also, if you're thinking about things like that, you're automatically creating phrases. And then then that's the other thing. You gives you a chance to think about, where am I going to go next? Am I going to play something related to what I just did? Or am I going to do something from that? And all those things together, I think, do nothing but help, the solo. And I think, it's something I kind of naturally do. And I've been lucky. I get to play with really great players. So they give me stuff and they help me build. And, all those years of playing with Papa Grows Funk where we jammed really hard, I think where I really was able to get good at, I'm not going to say perfect because I'm still working on it, but get pretty good at building a solo naturally and saving something for later. Cause and just saving it. But the build up also there's different times, ways to build up a solo. You know, it's not always just getting high and loud and
The
fast.
peak build, the infamous Bliss jam from jam bands. Just go, 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 go up, boom, hey, we're playing the song again, we're out of here. I love it. All right, tell me about Peanut Vendor. What's your Peanut Vendor story? Now, I've been thinking about this since you said it.
Okay. Well, all right. So one time I did this gig with Dr. John at BAM, which is the Brooklyn Art. What do they call it? It's the Brooklyn Art, not museum, but it's anyway, music hall or whatever. And we did a tribute to Louis Armstrong. This would have been probably around the time that I recorded this record, actually. And we had a bunch of special guests. We had Roy Hargrove, and we had Arturo Sandoval. We brought up we brought up Kermit Ruffins and James Andrews and Wendell Brunius. So it was amazing. It was an amazing concert. To me, I mean, Wendell Brunius about stole the show. James Andrews had that whole audience in the palm of his hand. Kermit Ruffins played one of the best choruses of a solo I think I've ever heard him ever play, or anybody. I mean, it was amazing. So it was an amazing concert. We had these guest artists, and so we had Arturo Sandoval, and Arturo can be quite demanding, and which I totally respect. And when it comes to Cuban music, he's very specific about the beat. Now, I totally understand that, because as a New Orleanian, like, I just did this whole album on New Orleans grooves. I started this whole conversation talking about how they were getting it wrong. Like, if it ain't grooving, it's not New Orleans music. It's just not right. So it is very important. So we did Peanut Vendor with him. That was our song to do with him. And I think the band, you know, we're a New Orleans kind of band. We're not a Cuban band. And we're not really interested in playing it authentically Cuban. And I think we all had in our mind the version by Red Tyler, you know, which is kind of this, it's not authentic Cuban. It's New Orleans, you know. So we're playing, and Arturo like, no, this is not gonna work. And he goes to the percussionist and plays him the part. You know, he's like, play this. And he tells the drummer what to play. And the drummer's like, okay, the drummer knew what to do. He just wasn't doing it. He was like, oh, I'll do what you want to do. And then he was singing the bass line. No, you got to do this. He tells the horn players, like, no, you got to play this. And he goes, and then he like asks Mac to scoot over, like, so he could show him the piano. And at that point, I think he realized, well, maybe I might have gone too far. And he's like, oh, is this okay? And Mac was like, oh man, we're all learning, you know, like, yeah, go ahead. So he's okay, all right. So he showed him the piano, and so then we finally, you know, get it right, and you know what he wanted and stuff. But you know, it was, the whole thing was kind of weird, you know, just kind of weird. And but then we get to the concert, and sure enough, you know, we just did it the same way. We did it the same way we always do it. And he had this look like, what are y'all doing? You know, like,
you're like, just do your solo, man. It's cool. Yeah. You pushed it a little bit. That's hilarious.
And like I said, I admire his passion about it. And yeah, if it was New Orleans music and they weren't doing it, I've seen bands not from New Orleans and they're doing something that's not right. You know, you can't even go any further. You're like, we can't really deal with this until this is taken care of. So
if you're trying to educate someone, I guess you start them off, you play them the second line, that song, and say, learn how to play on the 2/4, not 1/3. Is that the simple answer?
Yeah, it's really like, that's one of my things that I really feel like I need to work on. Is I'm just not a drummer. I've started drum lessons a little bit, but really the best way is to show them, you know. And part of the reason I dug so deeply into when I made these articles for this, when I did this record, was to kind of break it down. And there's a couple good books out there that have really great examples. And yeah, there are a couple of basic concepts. There's something we call the Big Four, where you put the big bass drum on like the fourth beat of every other measure, keeping things on the snare drum. You know, there's certain things you can kind of tell people, but yeah, finding recordings. That's what one of the things I did with my articles for this. I made recordings. I mean, I made a list of recordings that each of the songs is kind of based on in terms of groove. And all the, by the way, so I made the recordings, but I also have play-alongs. So with the article, and I'll probably re-release those too.
I was going to ask you, can we see the articles anywhere now?
Well, actually, you can find, I have the articles on my website, jasonmendez.com, and you can read the articles and look at them. But now the music's available for the first time. But yeah, telling people what, and I have students that come in and like want to learn, you know, second line grooves, and they'll do the work, and I'll play recordings for them, and I can kind of give them a little bit of advice on it. I wish I could just sit down and say, do this, you know, but that's something I'm still learning. It's on my to-do list.
I hear you. I hear you. That's fantastic. You know, it reminds me, you mentioning the articles on the website. I guess that's the new actually having an album. Because if this was 40 years ago and this had happened, you probably would have had the articles as part of the album or something like that. You know?
Yeah, I for a long time, and the reason it took so long to put this out actually was I've always intended to put it out as kind of maybe a book or something.
Okay.
And I've done deep research into saxophonists of New Orleans, and I wanted to kind of do something on them and connect it with these recordings and kind of make a play along book. Putting books out now is hard to. I'm already working on another book that I've been working on for over 10 years, and I am hoping to finish that. But I was just like, you know what, I've already recorded it. It's already mixed and mastered. All I needed to do was get some artwork, which I love the artwork. I found a wonderful artist who did some great artwork. I think I'm actually going to make some t-shirts out of that.
Very, it reminds me of like 50s, 60s kind of.
Yeah. And yeah, it's really cool. And
New Orleans in the rain, maybe, or something.
And so I wanted to make a book, but I didn't. But now I can just put the articles online, and I can make videos of the play-alongs and things like that, and just put them on my a YouTube channel.
Right. If I'm buying this CD, I guess I can find it at like Louisiana Music Factory, places like that. What's the best place to get it from that you get the most cash out of it?
Well, I have
not to cut out Louisiana Music Factory, not to cut them out.
I mean, Louisiana Music Factory is usually the place I turn people to go to buy it. And I actually just reordered some to give them.
Do you do Bandcamp?
I will send them out.
Have you done a Bandcamp page yet?
Yes, I have Bandcamp. And I get some people from that. You know, they've made it so hard for people, even to like, if you download it, which Bandcamp is great, you can download it, but they don't really make it easy for you to download it and put it on your phone. You know, you have to like airdrop it to a special app, like because iTunes doesn't do downloads easily. Right.
So I don't have Apple. I have a Samsung. So what I can do is I can download it onto my hard drive on my computer, plug my phone in with a USB, and then just dump it. Right, but still, it's around the bend to have to get it.
Yeah, they make it way easier just to stream it. And I just started allowing it to stream. I went about a month of just selling it. But now, if people can contact me on my website, and I can send them a copy too. And I have a bunch of mailers from my first record left over, so I can easily send them out. Especially, I'm waiting. The first version I made, and I'm almost out of that. I gave away a lot. I didn't make a whole lot, but the version I have one here. There it is. But when you open it, the CD is like sitting in there.
Okay.
It will fall out.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, I didn't like that, so I just redesigned it. I mean, just so that I can now it has a one where it has a sleeve and you can open
Okay.
it, and so um, it'll just be better for people. I hate when open it up and the CD falls out.
Scratch already. Yes, I
those are
do.
almost all gone, and so I'm gonna take the new ones to
There you
Music Factory. But that's the best place, and I can send them to Bandcamp is the place to download them, and it's easy to find. I got both my records on Bandcamp, and
Right. I've always been a big supporter of Bandcamp, but I guess like a year and a half ago, they got bought out by private equity, and I'm just waiting for a shoe to drop over there where artists just flee the place.
yeah, I remember when that happened, but it seems like it stayed the same, and I've made it's really with
It does all right for you.
It's they're working for they send me money, and from one download from them is like hundreds of streams.
My God, yeah.
Hundreds, so it's like it's hard, this day and age, it's hard. Most people I know don't have even CD players. I talked to the Music Factory, and they actually said that they sell more CDs than records. I think it's because there's a lot of tourists, and tourists are more likely to get something smaller.
Buy the CD, and they have a boombox in their kitchen. They're going to listen to it on the boombox. I don't know if you think about that on the production side of where it's going to be listened to. I'm making this for a $10,000 stereo, and people are listening on their phone.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I know a lot of people, I would love to make a vinyl version of this because that cover, I think it would look really good in vinyl.
Yes. You should figure out how to do a little poster with that artwork for your September tour.
Well, yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, the guy, John Dixon, his name, who did the artwork, I'm getting him to design a poster and a T-shirt. So I think it could make a really cool T-shirt. People, I have to get past the fact of me having a T-shirt with my name on, but it looks so cool. I think it would make a really neat T-shirt. So I know a lot of people, they just want to support and have something, and they'll get a CD, but they don't even have a really easy way to play it, and they'll just stream it. But
I went and saw God Street Wine. They gave me the box set of CDs. I've never opened it because I don't have a CD player. So.
Yeah, it's the reality. It makes me mad when I think about it. I heard they're coming back. People say that it's coming back, and
it's a good medium. It's a good disposable medium. Meaning, like, tapes are the other disposable medium in my mind, whereas LPs were the thing you held on to and you took good care of because it was, you could see the groove, as opposed to a CD which was flat and shiny and sounded digital, because it is.
Yeah.
But everything's recorded digital now. I don't think you can I think it would be hard to do a true analog recording and then have it put on vinyl as analog,
I did one recently, and there's a guy in New Orleans. He had an old board. It was like, I'd never seen anything this old. It looked older than anything I ever. And I think he was recording on analog equipment, but it still goes into a computer that's digital. But it does
little steps instead of waves.
And I think you put it to tape. It still records it to tape, but any editing is done on a program. But that's going to be great. Here's a band that does play the New Orleans R&B is the Catahoulas. And Gerald French, who actually is, I was talking about earlier, he plays drums and sings for them.
Okay.
Fantastic singer. And that band, Josh Guzzi, he's the band leader, and it's a killing band. And they just recorded something that'll be coming out hopefully soon. I play a few songs on it. And they did that. Like, they recorded with old analog equipment on tape, I think. But it's always, even those, it's a hybrid. They'll do the mixing and stuff on something like
Nobody's breaking out a razor and tape anymore and actually splicing pieces of tape together.
Yeah,
which might be fun. Bring back tape effects, just weird loops of cut tape.
Yeah, it's fun. You know, the idea of it is fun, but it's so time consuming, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So you have the September 14th through 19th we talked about. Where else are going to people see you between now and then that you can talk about?
Well, I'm actually going back on the road with my old band, St. Paul and the Broken Bones.
Oh, nice. I
Yeah.
love that.
So we're doing a tour with the Wood Brothers um, on the West Coast and up in the Northeast. Their trombone player, Chad Fisher, he's having a baby. And so they're bringing me in to play the trombone parts on saxophone. So it'll be fun. I get to play with Amari Ansari, who lives in New Orleans. He took my place in the band.
Okay.
I get to play with him on the and it's about I'm going to do 2 runs with them, and so I'm looking forward to that because it's been a while since I've been out on the bus with those guys. They're all buddies. So
great band, great sound, soul, R&B. It's got the old time feel to it a little bit.
Yeah, and you know they recently did the New Orleans cruise, which I wonder people were probably why are they playing New Orleans? You know, they have one guy in the band that's from New Orleans, whatever. But they were a huge hit on the cruise. Everyone I talked to was like, man, this band is a killer, you know. And I'm like, yeah, it is a great band. And so I'm glad a lot of people got to see them. And they've built a great following. They got a new album. They just recorded this killing. It's going to be like I think it's going to be their best one. It's kind of a return to the soul stuff. Right. And so I'm excited for them. I'm looking forward to going out there with them. So that's the main thing. I'm going to book a gig with my band that's doing the tour probably after the summer. It's really hard booking things in the summer.
No one wants to go outside.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And so I'm kind of waiting. My oldest son is getting old enough to start looking at colleges. So we're going to be traveling around looking at colleges for him, you know. Any excuse to get out of New Orleans.
Yeah. My both of mine are out of high school, but my youngest is still here. My oldest moved down to Ocean City, Maryland for the summer, and she's 21, so she's probably going to be drunk for 3 months, but that's another story. Good for her. I guess we all have those moments we go through.
But we're going up. We're looking at Maryland.
Oh, really? University of Maryland?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm matriculated from.
And and then we're going through UVA. We're looking at that, and West Virginia Tech. We're going all over. So,
University of Maryland. Shout out to them. It is a really, really good school. There were a lot of good people there. I mean, obviously, I graduated in 2000, so it was a long time ago. But I was late. I graduated high school in '89, and then after Jerry died is when I went to college. So that was my inspiration. I had no band to follow around anymore.
Okay, so we're probably the same age because I graduated in high school '89.
Yeah, I was 71, born in 71.
Yep.
God help me. All right. Anything else you want to throw out before we wrap up?
Oh well, we'll see. I mentioned that I'm going back to Maui, which I'm excited about that, and no, I'm excited about playing this music and bringing it out to people. And you know, next year hopefully I'll be recording a new record, which will be kind of funky, groovy, New Orleans.
That we need to get that band up to like Crawfish Fest with Michael Anone or something like that.
You know, that's one of the great things about this grant because. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, like getting an album out made me do some things to kind of get my career. The way the grant was designed, it makes you do things like so. I have to book a tour, get a band to get get a poster, all this stuff, and see how it goes, and then like maybe book another tour somewhere else, and not need the help, or at least know how much everything's going to cost, and having done it, and then maybe. The apparatus for that, I have to get some pictures, all that kind of stuff. Maybe it'd be easier to sell myself because I'm on a tour, and I can go up to sell myself to play a festival. I got a few little festivals under my belt. It's not so hard to fly, and so and then it becomes kind of a reality. Like, hey, wait a minute, I have a solo thing. I'm still sideman. I mean, every night I'm playing with a different band.
Call me.
But I can still, like actually going, and I love the idea of going to a place I've never been, playing my music, and having people enjoy it. That's very rewarding.
Festivals are great for that too, because obviously you get the walker by who's like, hey, what's that? Like one year we were walking over to see Widespread Panic at Jazz Fest, and we walked by CC Adcock, and I never saw Widespread Panic that day.
Yeah.
Just happened.
Do that.
I was like, this guy is fantastic. Oh my God. All right. Let's we'll be in touch. Let's wrap this up. Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it so much. I'm going to run a little outro, so hang out. Everybody out there watching, please like, subscribe, find us on our socials. There'll be links down in the bottom for Jason's stuff. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long. We'll see you soon.